Hare Krishna. A warm welcome to all our viewers to the Krishna Fest. I welcome you all for this auspicious event and this program. I will be your host for this session. My name is Jigar Mukesh Shah. I am an actor and a chartered accountant. I live in Toronto, Canada, but I'm born and raised in Mumbai, and I am in Mumbai right now. And I'm very, very fortunate to interview this amazing personality. But before I speak about the person, I would like to introduce you to the topic. The topic for today is coping with suffering. Our Shastras say, Padam Padam Yat Vipadam. There is danger at every step. Srimad Bhagavatam says, there is nobody else who is responsible for your happiness and distress, but it is the mind that causes it. This reminds me of a very famous quote, that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So we all are going through so many problems, sufferings, day in and day out. We feel like, मौत से क्या डरना, मिनटों का खेल है, आफत तो जिंदगी है, बरसों चला करती है. तो इस आफत भरी जिंदगी में क्या हम आनंद से जी सकते हैं? क्या इसका कोई समाधान है? Is there a way where we can live blissfully amidst all these sufferings? We're going to discuss all this. And there is a subtopic to this, principles of self-love and acceptance. So let's get started. It's time to introduce our speaker. He's been a monk for 24 years. He has been counselor, mentor, guide for thousands of people. He's been invited all over the world to give seminars and talks. And most importantly, he is an amazing and a prolific writer. He is an author of 4 books now. And mark my words, there are many more to come. And you can read his daily reflections on the website called yogaformodernage.com. So before saying anything else, I will welcome Prabhuji, Vraja Bihari Das. Welcome, Vraja Bihari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Jigar.
Prabhuji, my first question to you. What do you have to say about suffering? What is suffering and how do we deal with suffering?
To put it in very simple words, suffering is to get what you don't want and to not get what you want.
Got it.
So, this is very simple. And now if you see how life, through its complicated events, how it shapes us, but essentially this is the phrase we need to remember. Suffering means to get what we don't want and to not get what we want. I remember as a teenager, I was very fascinated by one story. There were 2 men, both wanted to be the first man to reach South Pole. One was Roald Amundsen from Norway. Now this man, since he was a kid, he wanted to be the first man to reach North Pole. But when he was a teenager, he discovered that 2 Americans have already reached. So then he said, okay, let me be the first man to reach the South Pole instead. So he focused on the South Pole. Now at that time, Robert Scott, an Englishman, he also wanted to be the first man to reach South Pole. So he practiced for almost 15 years, he took training, prepared, and then an intense race began. Now finally, Robert Scott and his team reached South Pole, and what happened? They discovered that Amundsen's team had already reached there a few weeks before.
Oh.
So Robert Scott was devastated, and he writes in his diary that I have lost all interest in life, I am shattered, I am devastated. And then on his return journey, all his team members died because they just couldn't take the shock, and of course there was poor planning, they were devastated. Now when you read this story, you would like to imagine that maybe then Roald Amundsen must be happy because he is the first man to reach South Pole. But his story is another interesting, it has another interesting dimension. He writes that I am feeling miserable because I wanted to go to the North Pole since childhood.
Oh.
Can there be something more crazy than this?
Right.
This is what he writes. So I realized, wow, both are miserable. So basically what happens is, in our lives, we'll always get something which we don't want, and we'll always not get something which we want. So how do we deal with suffering? How do we deal with this scenario? First is to recognize and accept that life won't be the way we want it to be. In fact, if we can simply accept this, we will realize that life is enjoyable actually. See, if you see, most of our time goes in avoiding unpleasant experiences,
Correct.
minimizing them, and maximizing pleasurable experiences,
Correct.
right? Now, we are so caught up in this that we don't realize that how much ever hard you try, you cannot avoid old age, disease, death, suffering you cannot avoid. So, acceptance is the key. So, the answer to your question, what is suffering? To not get what you want and to get what you don't want, and how to deal with it? Accept the reality of suffering.
Recognize. Awesome.
Recognize.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Excellent answer. But Prabhuji, I don't think, like nowadays we talk so much about science and technology. So I don't think science and technology is really helpful. Like, does it help? Okay, if I have gray hair, I can color it. If I have wrinkles, I can do facelift. If I lose my teeth, I have excellent dentures. So yes, science and technology does provide us with these options. But does it really cure anything? I think it covers it up well. What do you think? Is that correct?
Yeah, regarding suffering, you are bang on actually. Science and technology is very important because the strides in science and technology has helped mankind to achieve a lot of success. We have expanded our fields of knowledge, definitely. But when it comes to suffering, technology fails. In fact, if you see the studies, like now we have the wireless mobile devices, also popularly known as smartphones.
Yes.
If you see, the studies have consistently proven that since smartphone usage has increased on the planet, loneliness has also increased. In fact, these solutions which the technology provides, that creates a bigger problem eventually. Because what happens, let's say I am in pain, let's say I am suffering, okay. So what do? I just pick up my smartphone, which has its dopamine induced electronic screen, and then it helps me run away from my misery. And it shoves things under the carpet, but it comes back with vengeance later on. I'll tell you my own experience. When I go through pain or suffering, I've tried this a few times. Now what I'm going to say may appear counterintuitive, but it really works. When I'm in pain, if I drop my smartphone, I don't watch YouTube, Netflix, nothing. I just go and sit with my pain. I embrace my pain, I live with my pain. I just accept it. Hell, I'm in pain, I'm not happy about it, but that's what it is. And you will be surprised, in that middle of that pain, in the midst of that pain, you will find peace. Just like, in a cyclone, we say the center of the cyclone, there is peace, right? The eye of the storm is always calm.
Right.
Similarly, when we are in the midst of a cyclone in our lives, if we can simply live with it, if we can simply embrace our pain, you will be amazed how peaceful we could become. But unfortunately, the modern culture is distract yourself from pain, and that adds to our misery. So you are bang on when you say that science and technology does little to remove suffering.
Wow. Prabhuji, thank you for sharing this point about living your pain. Like when you recognize it, you will be able to do something about it. This reminds me of an excellent story, Prabhuji, I had heard, where a saintly person who believed in non-violence and peace, he was meditating below a tree and an ant fell on his beard. So to save the ant, he gently picked it up and he was trying to place it back on the tree. And in the meantime, a large group of ants fell on him. So to save himself and the beard, he had to jump in a pond. He wanted to save one, but he ended up killing so many. So yes, Prabhu, we need to recognize this, but what else can we do apart from recognizing?
Okay. So to deal with suffering, first step is very important. Accept, just like we accept the law of gravity. You throw something, it comes down, right? It's not whether you like the law or you don't like the law. You just accept it because that's the law. So the law of suffering is the first principle of dealing with it, accepting that there is a law. The law is I won't get all the time what I want, and I will get things which I don't want. So let us say I've recognized it. Then comes a very important step. Let us start seeing meaning in our suffering. Like I'll give an example. See, if you see the universe at the cosmic level, or if you see your own, the intercellular existence, within your body there are 30 trillion cells. But everything is so organized so perfectly, right? Your body goes through, there's a certain rhythm, there is a certain balance and harmony in nature. The seasons change periodically. So everything that is an intelligent design, we can clearly see that in nature, right?
Right.
So similarly, there is an intelligence, there is some purpose, there is some divine plan behind our suffering as well. Of course, I may not be able to fathom it right now because of my tiny brain, but if I'm in the spirit, in the mood to receive wisdom from the universe, and I'm willing to see meaning in my suffering, I am making tremendous progress to cope with it. So this is the second step. So first is to recognize, second is to see meaning in our suffering, and then the most important step is to live for a purpose, to have some, have some mission, or to have something to do in life.
Yes.
Like what excites you? What makes you get up from the bed every day? See, if I don't have a purpose, if I don't have a vision in life, then suffering will seem eternal. But if I have something to do, if I want to leave behind a legacy, if I want to do something, then you will see that suffering becomes a part of life. It's like life is composed of so many emotions. It's a complete package. So suffering becomes one part of it. Otherwise, we tend to get overwhelmed when suffering hits us.
Yes. Excellent. So you gave us 3 steps, I guess. So first step you said already that you need to recognize. The second step you said was to have a deeper meaning and understand the intelligent design behind this universe, why things are happening. And the last step I think you gave was to have a deeper sense of purpose. Excellent. So recognize intelligent design, see the intelligent design and have a deeper sense of purpose. Prabhu, I think there is an acronym here. RIP, rest in peace. So viewers, if you follow these steps, you can rest in peace even while you're alive.
That's a good one.
Nice. Thank you, Prabhuji, for this. I was reading your most recent bestseller, Mind Your Mind. We can show this book to our viewers in the link or maybe a photograph. Prabhu, I love this book. I'm reading it. I'm somewhere in the middle. And there are some amazing stories. It's very enlightening. I came across a couple of interesting stories here. One of Mr. Amitabh Bachchan and one is a wealthy man from Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. Amitabh Bachchan, you mentioned that, how all radio stations rejected him for not having a good voice. And he's known for his voice, right? He faced 13 flop films before he actually tasted success. In his mid-50s, he was on the verge of bankruptcy, like so many setbacks in his life. And so similar things happened with the wealthy man from Srimad Bhagavatam, where his nature was miserly. He would not spend anything for his family or himself or anywhere for that matter. And how, due to sudden change of events, he loses everything and everybody turns their back to him. And he was rejected. So these are setbacks in people's life and we have our own set of setbacks. So how do we deal with our mind during setbacks?
Well, mind is an amazing subject matter in itself. And especially mind plays mischief when we go through suffering in life. So I have realized from my own struggles that it's best not to fight against the mind. It doesn't really help, like some of us, we want to be determined to smash and subdue the mind. That doesn't really work in the long run. And some of us also are in denial. We try to deny the problem. We say, no, I'm positive. It's like very toxic. It's called toxic positivity. We just superficially try to be positive. Both doesn't work. What I've discovered is another method which Srila Prabhupada, the founder of ISKCON, would say neglect. So what I mean by that is, it's something like if you've gone to a beach, Jagannath Puri, we enjoy the beach. So if you're standing facing the waves, they hit you. And if you turn your back towards the waves, the undertow will pull you, drag you. So both ways won't work. What you need to do is you need to stand sideways, little bent, and as the large wave hits you, you have to take a call whether you can jump higher than the wave. So you go higher and then the wave goes below you and then you can see all your friends on the shore getting hit by the wave, right?
Yes.
Or sometimes the wave is too big, then what do? You fold your palms and you dive down and then you come up, and by the time you come up, you see the wave has again hit the shore and you are safe. So this is how it works with the mind. Either you transcend the mind, like for example, when the mind starts saying a lot of stories, mind is expert in building up stories. So when the mind starts saying all those things, you just go higher than the mind. In the sense, you separate yourself from your mind.
Okay.
Or sometimes your identity is so merged with the mind that you can't really separate yourself from the mind. The suffering is so intense. So what you do, you fold your palms, dive, surrender to the Lord, surrender to the universe, the force, Paramatma, God, whatever you call. We, in our tradition, understand God as Krishna. So we pray to Krishna. So I have seen that either prayers, surrender to Krishna,
Right.
or neglecting or transcending the mind, both work wonders. Talking about Jagannath Puri, if you've gone for Rath Yatra, you'll see
Yes.
there are around 12 lakh people who come for the Rath Yatra, and it's overwhelming, right? So when the cart is getting ready and the Lord of the universe is going to now come in the cart, I've seen that many people in the crowd, we suffer because we are trying to go closer to the cart. You can't go because you're not allowed to, and you get beaten.
Right.
And some people try to escape the pandemonium, the crowd, and they also get trampled.
Right.
The best is be where you are. Just be a little, bend yourself and just declare an intention that you want to be there, and you will be peaceful. So what I'm trying to say is, don't fight the mind, don't run away from the mind, just observe with detachment and transcend. And if you can't transcend,
Wow.
dive, take shelter of the Lord.
Amazing.
So this is the way we could deal with the mind during suffering situations.
Brilliant. Your Jagannath Puri example actually took me there. Thank you so much for that. Really, really nice example. You told us how we should not panic, or you quoted Srila Prabhupada by saying how we can neglect the mind is by rising above the waves is the example you gave, or maybe going below and praying. Amazing, Prabhu. But Prabhu, when we are in that situation, say for example, I am suffering or we are suffering, going through problems, when you are going through such emotional trauma and when you are cornered by the world, isn't it natural to blame others?
Yeah, but it's not healthy. Like I remember, I was with a friend, Manish. We went to somebody's house, and we were having a meeting. So they had this 2-year-old girl, baby. She fell from a small table, and she started wailing, crying, and everyone was trying to pacify the child. So, and the child was, relentless. She was just crying. So the eldest member of the family, he picked up the child in his attempt to mollycoddle and pacify the child. So he told the girl, "Oh, my dear darling, here, look at this table. This table has caused you pain. Let me beat this naughty boy table." And he started beating the table. And then he took that little girl's hand and he bet the table. And then everybody laughed and everybody said, "Oh, this table is a bad boy.
Yeah.
Our here is so nice." And they kissed the child. And the child, over the next few minutes, she was kind of pacified. She became busy with her own play, and we continued our meeting.
Correct.
So Manish, so interesting. He said, "You know what you guys have done just now? You have committed violence on your child." He made it very dramatic.
Okay.
I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You have taught your child early on that she is not responsible for the pain that she goes through in life. It's the table." So I said, wait, Manish, I think what they did was natural. Yeah. I think this is a very harmless way of pacifying the child. But then he said something interesting. He said, "Here has learned an important lesson today. When she grows up and she goes through suffering, she will always look for that table to beat."
Oh, Krishna. Right.
So the point I'm saying is, blame is natural because we've been trained like that. We've been wired like that from childhood. But if we now reprogram ourselves, in the sense, if we start taking responsibility for our lives, we will experience more freedom.
Wonderful. Amazing. What an example. I think every parent does that to pacify the child, but nobody might have thought it.
Yeah, inadvertently we land up teaching this.
Wow. But Prabhu, when that, I've also observed in my life, with my friends, my family members, when we are in that emotional trauma, most people take shelter of either blaming somebody, holding others guilty, or they indulge in self-guilt or self-pity, sorry.
Yeah.
Either they hold others responsible or they indulge in self-pity, where they say, "I don't deserve this, I deserve better." They start pitying themselves. But as you said, it's important to be responsible. Take responsibility. Okay, this has happened. I am responsible and I'll deal with it, rather than blaming others. And Prabhu, blaming, I think, can become a habit. If you start, first or second time when you blame someone, you will hear an inner voice saying, "It's not true.
Correct.
You may be responsible too."
Right.
But if we neglect that, we might stop hearing that voice, and we might, be habituated to blame every time.
Perfect.
So what do we do now? And And there is also a scenario where there is actually somebody else who is a wrongdoer. Shouldn't the wrongdoer be blamed?
Of course, absolutely. See, there are perpetrators of injustice, abuse, for example. We need to stand for it. We need to stand for what is right. But my point is, never compromise self-care.
Okay.
Like, for example, when you're fighting for justice, what is your intention? Is your intention to grow? So never lose the focus. Never substitute self-growth, self-care, an intention to grow with fighting for a cause which is weakening you. So we need to fight for justice, but see that your growth also happens.
Got it.
Like, for example, I'll tell you, one of my friends is a businessman and is successful, but he told me recently that 15 years ago, he has a family business. In one gathering, one of his very close family members humiliated him in public. And now, although that incident is long gone, 15 years down the line, he's still haunted by it, and he still has a lot of negative feelings towards his uncle who did that to him.
Yes.
So I was telling him, okay, why don't we explore new possible scenarios? Why don't you explore new possibilities? Why are you holding on to it? So I said, okay, let us visualize a situation where this event happens again. Okay, so what are the things you could do now? So we recreated the situation. So he said, maybe I could get up and leave, or maybe I could politely disagree, or maybe after the meeting immediately I could confront him. As he was himself giving solutions, he saw that he's becoming free. What I'm trying to say is, we need to fight for justice, but never lose the hope for a better future. Never fail to take responsibility. Like for example, if somebody has lost his job,
right.
Now he has two options. One is to get vindictive about the boss, to complain about the boss, and also fight for justice. But at the same time, he also needs to visualize new scenarios. He needs to see how he can improve or how he can get a better job. So the point I'm saying is, many times when we are victims,
right,
we allow that victim mentality to sink us into a quicksand. So I'm just saying that should be avoided. That's all.
So the principle is taking care of yourself rather than blaming others.
Exactly.
Is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, Prabhu. So if I don't blame others and not even blame myself, I might live in denial. I might keep myself occupied and busy with my Facebook, movies, YouTube, and so many other things. Right? We might keep ourselves so much occupied and busy that we don't recognize, or we might not blame others, but not even blame ourselves, and be busy in that. Like, I think acceptance is difficult probably because we don't know what is acceptance. So let me ask you this. What is acceptance?
Acceptance basically means to receive the present moment without judgment. Agreeing to receive the present moment. I'll give an example. Let's say one of your friends has spoken harshly to you and you're very hurt. And you have been thinking about it all the time, and you're getting really disturbed, and you're thinking, oh, he's so bad, maybe I am bad. So many stories are going on in your head. Now, the best way to puncture the mind's rant is to pause and accept that you are in pain.
Got it.
I am in pain. I feel very sad at the way I have been treated. I'm not happy about it. But that's what it is. That is what is now. See, what happens is, many of us, when we are in pain, the first thing we do is we want to avoid the pain.
Correct. Yes, bro.
So when we want to avoid pain it's like a reflex action.
Yes.
But what we'll end up doing is we live a life of denial then. It's like, I'll give an example. I met one of my distant relatives. And for 1 hour, he was talking to me, he was constantly smoking. So I said, how many cigarettes do you smoke in a day? So he said, I smoke around 40, 45 cigarettes.
Oh my.
I said, oh, you are addicted. And immediately he said, no, I can give it up anytime I want. I said, oh, why don't you give it up now? He said, no, I just don't feel like, but I can give it up anytime. So immediately I realized, he is in denial. Classic case of denial.
Case, yes.
So denial is something, like you have a mole on your nose. The whole world can see it, but you can't see it. Denial is the worst kind of lie, because that is a lie we speak to ourselves. It's that proverbial ostrich putting the head in the sand. You heard of that?
Yes, I've heard.
Like a thief went to a temple. He wanted to steal the golden bell. but he knew that the moment he touches it, it will create a sound.
Correct.
So the best thing he did was, he got cotton and he put it in his own ears and he tried to steal the bell.
Got it.
It doesn't work.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is, we often are scared to face the truth. See, Gautam Buddha, there's a very beautiful story. One lady came to him saying that she lost her son. Her son died. So she begged Buddha to revive her son. So Buddha taught her acceptance very compassionately.
Okay.
He told her, yeah, I can revive your son. Why don't you simply get me some rice? But see that the rice you get is from a house which has never seen death.
Okay.
So she went to different houses. They gladly gave rice, but they said, well, last year my father died. Somebody said 2 years ago my aunt died. And after a few houses, she realized, oh,
Right.
death is inevitable. So she learned death. She learned about accepting death. And Buddha taught her with compassion. So acceptance is not a weakness. See, it's being vulnerable. And when you are vulnerable to yourself, there is scope, there is hope for improvement. If you don't recognize the problem,
Right.
if you don't recognize that it exists, how can you change the situation?
Correct.
So acceptance is recognizing it.
Right. So you accept the world or the things the way they are. So your expectation will be more realistic and reasonable if you accept the world the way it is.
Yeah, you are not in, see, it's not that you are happy about it. Like for example, let's say I've lost a job. I accept it doesn't mean I'm happy that I lost my job. It's just that that's what it is. I can't deny this situation. This is what it is. And then I can actually change the situation.
Yes. And so you can be more reasonable. You can accept, while you accept the reality, you're more realistic, more
Exactly,
reasonable.
exactly.
Got it. Got it. It's an amazing contradiction, Prabhu, that saintly people or enlightened souls, they declare this world to be a place of misery, but they themselves are very blissful. Whereas we have so many alternatives and options today, and techniques like inner peace, self-healing, self-help talks, pep talks, practicing positive thinking. Yet most people are addicted to drugs, alcohol to forget their stress.
This paradox is natural. Actually, if we see the lives of many saints in the past, they have never minced words on suffering, but they themselves have been peaceful because they've accepted the reality. They live in a state of acceptance. That's the key. That's the foundation of peace and happiness.
So you accept yourself and the situation the way it is.
Yes.
But Prabhu, if I accept myself, it's likely that I may become complacent. Like I'll not try to improve. I might not have the determination to improve.
Okay.
So how can, like, I know you mentioned that acceptance is not weakness. So how is acceptance not weakness, and how,
Okay. You are talking about determination, how it may, or if I'm accepting a situation, I may not be determined to improve.
Exactly.
Okay. I'll give a few scenarios, See, first of all, let me clarify. Acceptance is not resigning yourself to your fate. When I say acceptance, I'm talking about moving forward, but with grace and dignity.
Okay.
Like for example, let's say you're stuck in a traffic jam. Now, if you're in denial, your plans are upset, so you get frustrated. But if you live a life of acceptance, when you're stuck in a traffic jam, what do? I'm stuck in a traffic jam, I accept it, I'm not happy about it, but I can do nothing about it.
Correct.
You become immediately peaceful, and then you can comfortably maybe listen to a lecture, listen to some music, look outside the window. You're peaceful. Or when I sometimes get up late in the morning, I'm unable to get up early in the morning, and then my entire day's plans are thwarted. So it goes for a toss. So my first reaction is to get upset. Oh, my plan has failed. But I check myself, I accept the situation, and then I move forward slowly but conscientiously.
Right.
Like if you play tennis, for example, if you have lost one set, two sets,
Correct.
no point lamenting about it. Accept it and move forward and play the next point. So it's basically being in the moment. And as regards to determination, see, determination is a limited resource. We can't be determined all the time if we are artificially situated. Mahabharata gives a very beautiful story in this regard. Shalya is instructing the warriors in the battlefield and he tells them the story of the crow's determination. He says, once a crow challenged a swan that I can fly higher than you and I can fly faster than you. I have learnt 100 new techniques of flying. So the swan said, okay, let's have a challenge, let's have a competition. So they began flying, and the crow showed a triangular pose, then the crow showed an upside down technique, and different poses. But after some time, the crow realized that the ocean is vast.
Yes.
And the crow is no match for the swan. So the crow got exhausted and he was about to fall. And as he was falling into the ocean, the swan rushed close to the crow and said, wow, is this one of your new techniques? So then Shalia tells, the moral of the story he gives, that if the crow accepts that he is a crow,
Right.
then determination makes sense.
Ah.
Unfortunately, what happens, we don't accept who we are. We are not human being. We have become human doing. We are constantly determined to do things, achieve certain things. But if we first accept who we are, and in that state of be, then determination makes sense.
Wow. So to be happy with what you are is what I learned from this story. Amazing. I didn't know that Mahabharata quoted such a beautiful story of a crow and a swan. That's so beautiful. But Prabhu, I may resign to be ordinary. Why can't we all strive for greatness? Like whenever I am with my friends, family, we all talk about bigger dreams, trying to achieve something.
Yeah.
Like, why can't we all strive for greatness? What is the use of being a crow?
Okay. See, I'm not against greatness.
Okay.
But I would like to challenge your notion here for some time. What is wrong in being ordinary?
Ah, wow.
I would like to counter question. See, the Ramayana explains this beautifully. In the Ramayana, there is this beautiful story of how the monkey soldiers were planning to go to Lanka, right? So they were all contemplating who can jump to Lanka. One monkey soldier said, I can jump only 10 miles. Somebody said, I can jump only 40 miles.
Right.
And Hanuman was sitting quietly, and Jambavan revealed to Hanuman that he can actually go there and come back. He is very powerful.
Wow.
Right? You know this story.
Yes.
So now, we like to be Hanuman. We want to be powerful.
Right.
But there is a place for rank and file members in the army also. So what if I am not Hanuman? What if I am Jambavan?
Correct.
So we know Sachin Tendulkar, but Ramakant Achrekar has contributed a lot.
Wow.
Now we sing the glories of Mukesh Ambani and Abdul Kalam, but what about their parents, their grandparents? See, unfortunately for many of us, greatness is equal to million likes on Facebook and your thousands and millions of followers on Instagram.
Correct.
Why does the paparazzi have to come to you? Why does the media have to sing your glories? Why can't you be ordinary? See, our greatness is determined when we are the best version of ourselves. It's not in to leave behind a legacy, to contribute meaningfully. You don't need to be great by the definition of the world.
Wow.
Like, one of the classic examples, one of my biggest inspirations is C. Rajgopalachari. He was India's first and the last Governor General. When Lord Mountbatten left to attend to his nephew's wedding in England in 1947, for a few months, Rajgopalachari was made the Governor General of India. And he lived a simple life. He lived in a small room, washed his own clothes, and cooked his own food. And when Mountbatten came back, he was shocked at the simplicity of this man.
Wow.
And Mountbatten, he recalled later on, when he wrote his own biography, his own autobiography, that the most profound influence in his life was Rajgopalachari.
Wow.
And Rajgopalachari was a very unassuming man. And Richard Nixon, American president, he met him for maybe a few minutes, and he writes in his memoir that this person had the most civilizing effect on my consciousness. John F. Kennedy, he met Rajgopalachari for a few minutes, and he says, in my entire 40 years of public life, nobody has influenced me so much as this man has done in 5 minutes.
Wow.
So the point I'm trying to make is that if you want to contribute, if you want to leave behind a legacy, if you want to create an impact, you don't have to be necessarily big or pompous or great. You just have to be who you are and contribute your best.
Wow, what a definition of greatness. I think our viewers, this is the first time I'm hearing a definition of greatness like this. According to this definition, Prabhu, I think a simple housewife can also be
Of course.
be great.
Srila Prabhupada would say, a sincere sweeper in the street is much more beneficial to the society than a shortened meditator.
Oh.
So everyone has a place. Just like what a crow can do, swan cannot. What water can do, petrol cannot. But both have places. What an ant can do, a woodpecker can't.
Wow.
So each one of us is unique. So let us celebrate the fact that I may be a crow. Even a crow has a place in this universe.
Beautiful. And since Olympics are on, I recollect a couple of personalities from Olympics history, Michael Phelps and Ian Miller. Michael Phelps is known for being one of the greatest Olympian. Like he won his first medal. He was a swimmer, one of the greatest swimmer. He won his first medal at the age of 19, and in 10 years he won 75 medals, and 28 of them is from Olympics.
Wow.
But at the age of 29, he retired, saying, "I'm done. I don't want to do anything with sports." He was caught driving under the influence of alcohol, and he was arrested several times, and he was also suspended by the USA Swimming Board for 6 months. But he deviated. He didn't want to do sports, like such a great personality, living legend, but he didn't want to be a part of sports anymore.
Yeah.
In fact, he didn't want to live. I think he contemplated suicide. Of course, he recovered later, and now he's helping many others overcome depression. But he confessed that the mental wellness he's experiencing now is much better than winning a gold medal in the Olympics.
Yes.
Wow. And Ian Miller, what an example. Like, he represented Canada at the age of 65 in Olympics for the 10th time. So he was participating in Olympics for over 4 decades. He won his first medal, I guess, at the age of 61, and that was a silver medal. And when he was asked, how do you feel like being a sports icon? He just dismiss that by saying, I don't know what you're talking about. I just do the best I can. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I enjoy this, and this is all fun for me. Wow.
Beautiful. Thank you. I'm glad you shared this example. I remember another example. China is always obsessed with creating gold medals.
Yes.
Now, in 2012 Olympics, there was this weightlifter, Wu Jingbiao. He got a silver medal, and on camera, it's recorded. You can watch it on YouTube. He's crying. He's saying, I have let down my mother country. I have let down my country. I'm ashamed of myself that I couldn't win the gold. And people were like shocked. He had every reason to celebrate.
Yes.
And then, in contrast to that, I think 4 years later, in the next Olympics, I think in Brazil, this one girl from China, 19, 20-year-old Fu Yuanhui, she was a swimmer. She won a bronze medal. And the cameras went to her, the media went to her thinking she might be disappointed. The first question she asked them was, what was my timing? So then they revealed to her, and she realized that she had excelled her own timing. She had done better than her previous performances. She was jubilant. Wow. She started celebrating. And she didn't care that she got a bronze.
Wow.
And then, at that time, she became an online sensation in China. Because she had redefined the Chinese athlete. That it's not about, competing with others. It's not about, being great. It's about improving your own self.
Wonderful.
So I think you are right. I'm glad you shared these Olympics examples.
Amazing. So yes, Prabhu, this makes me realize why and how we need to accept others as well as ourselves. But I think one cause of suffering is when others don't accept you, Prabhu. Like, say, for example, I appreciate others, I accept others, but what if there is no reciprocation?
That's true. This is a common phenomenon. We all feel unloved. We all wish somebody accepted us. What I suggest, in case you feel unacknowledged, unloved, is we could practice self-love. We could write maybe one page. You could write one page on a journal, things that you love about yourself. I remember the first time I did this exercise for some people in a program. I remember a couple of them, they were like reluctant to do it. They said, no, because, we are wired to deeply hate ourselves. Many of us secretly despise ourselves. We don't like who we are. So what happens because of that is, if I'm always thinking I'm bad, okay, I'm bad, and then I do something wrong, which I think is wrong, then I criticize myself more. I am bad.
Got it.
So then if I'm bad, what do bad people do? They do bad. So what happens is that behavior is reinforced because of my inherently not liking myself. So what we need is self-love. What we need to do is, if I make a mistake, fine, I made mistakes, but I am not a mistake. We have unfortunately become very shameful people. Like it's guilt is good. If I have done something wrong, I shouldn't have done this. That's guilt, and that's healthy. But what we generally do is we take guilt to the next level. We make it shame. I shouldn't have done this. That's good. But we say, I am bad. I have done bad is okay. But I am bad. That is shame. And then if I am bad, then I don't like myself. You will attract that. You will attract that kind of energy.
Got it.
And you will immediately feel the world doesn't like you.
Wow. Wonderful answer, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, we all are working in this fast-paced life. We are living in this fast-paced life, and there is always comparison. We compare ourselves with others' success, and we might try to work towards success according to this world's definition of success. So how can we cope with this intensity of fast-paced life?
Well, I always say intensity without sensitivity will lead to insanity. So intensity is good, but I learnt a lesson during a Himalayan trip. We were trekking to Vasudhara Falls, which was a 4-hour journey from where we were staying. And I wanted to be the first one to reach there. We were a group of 100 people. And after 5-10 minutes, I got exhausted. And I just sat. I just couldn't move. So one of my close friends, Jay, he told me 3 tips. And that not only helped me be the second, I was second when I reached, I was second in reaching Vasudhara Falls after I followed those 3 tips.
Wow.
And after that Himalayan journey, this is 2011. So last 10 years I have been practicing this, and it has also helped me in my other aspects of my life. And that was brilliant. He said, first, don't walk fast towards the Vasudhara Falls, and don't walk slow. Okay. Walk at your natural pace. What is your natural pace? You walk in that. And secondly, don't look at others, because you are trying to go there first. You're looking at others and you're getting exhausted. And third, most important, don't stop. And trust me, I did that. I first started listening to my own body's signals. Okay, what is my speed?
Your natural speed.
Natural speed. And then I followed that, regardless of, there was one elderly lady, 67 years old. She's grown up in a village, and she was the first one to reach. She was the healthiest, and I was wanting to compete with her, but I gave up. Just let me walk in my own speed, and without looking at others. And then I didn't stop. Slowly but gradually, I was the second one to reach there. So what I mean is, in our lives also, it's easy to compare ourselves with others. But if we understand who we are, which was the basis of discussion today, and then I understand my own strengths, my own weaknesses, and slowly but surely move forward without stopping, there is a great chance of success. In fact, you may surprise yourself.
Yes.
You may achieve things beyond what you are imagining now. And you will feel empowered by it. Right now what happens, we achieve success, but it is stress-induced. See, there is this autonomic nervous system. See, if there is God forbid, if there is a bomb blast here right now.
Correct.
And how we respond to that situation is dependent on how our nervous system is developed. So we have this autonomic nervous system, which is helping the blood circulation in the body, the heartbeat, it's all happening without our conscious awareness. That's because of the autonomic nervous system, which has 2 branches, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is what helps the body function during stress. It is a flight, fight and fright syndrome. So for example, the army men, they are fighting in the border. They are always alert, say for 7 days, 10 days at a row in a stretch. But their bodily activities are going on. The heart is beating, the blood circulation is happening, because their sympathetic nervous system is activated. They are fighting a battle. But nature is so amazing. Nature has also created the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps when we take rest, when we recuperate. So when you relax. So the sympathetic nervous system is catabolic. It destroys your tissues. It breaks you. But the parasympathetic nervous system is anabolic. It builds you. So what has happened is, most of us today our sympathetic nervous system is overworked. We are constantly,
Yes.
crisis, emergency, achieving success. So we are internally getting broken. So why don't we learn to relax? Why don't we discover our own speed, our own pace, and without comparing ourselves with others, why not move forward gently? And you will be amazed how you will not only achieve success, but you will be happy about it. You will not be stressed by it.
Wow, such a wonderful sutra for success. Thank you for sharing your experience. So our viewers, it is, I think, suffering, if you want to share your suffering, share your problems with us, it is said that by sharing suffering, you reduce suffering, right? So you can share your struggles in your own life by visiting our website yogaformodernage.com, where you can share your thoughts and also read some amazing articles on struggles, on suffering by Vraja Bihari Prabhuji. And his writings are so profound, deep and heart-touching. You're going to relish it. Prabhu, I know we are time-bound, and I think I can ask you one last question. बंधी है हाथ में सबकी घड़ियाँ, लेकिन पकड़ में एक लम्हा भी नहीं. So we have to end this. I know this is one last thing I want to ask. Prabhu, you talked about accepting and loving yourself, but this could boost my ego. How can I love myself and yet be grounded?
Yeah, so that's a very reasonable question, Jigar. See, self-love will not lead to false pride. It won't be detrimental if self-love is balanced with gratitude. Unfortunately, see, if you're not grateful to the universe for all the things we get in life, then that's not self-love.
Got it.
That's being narcissistic. A person who truly loves himself will always be grateful to the universe, to the Lord, for the gifts he has got. So what we could do is, we could practice what is called as fresh gratitude.
Okay.
Like in the last 24 hours, what is it that you have got? Or what is it that you have experienced which makes you very grateful? Like for example, in the last 24 hours, for example, today morning we had excellent breakfast. So I could be grateful. I could be grateful for that, Or today I met you after a long time. So I'm grateful that I could talk to you. So if I see in the night when I write down the 7 or 8 or 10 things that I'm grateful for in the last 24 hours,
wow.
Not only that keeps me grounded, that also keeps my gratitude fresh. Otherwise, it becomes very monotonous to keep thanking the same people over and over again. Like if I keep thanking my parents every day, it becomes a little monotonous because I can't invest emotions into the same thing every day.
Correct.
But when I have fresh gratitude practice, then I keep my eyes and ears open. I always keep looking out for things to be grateful for. So that way we are grounded, we are grateful, and we also have self-love.
Wonderful. I think, Prabhu, this is the first time I've heard something called as fresh gratitude. We hear gratitude a lot, but fresh gratitude. Amazing. I'm going to reflect on this, Prabhu. I'm so grateful for all the answers you have given to us today. I'm very, very thankful for your time. I'm honored that I had this opportunity to meet with you and interview and ask you these questions. I'm certainly going to reflect on these answers that you gave, and I'm going to try and implement this in my life. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate your time. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Jigar. Hare Krishna.
So viewers, we had an amazing session. We all want to grow in our lives, whether it is our career, our family, our in a society, but we also need to grow as a human, right? आईना साफ किया तो मैं नजर आया, मैं को साफ किया तब जाकर तू नजर आया. We all want to reach the higher destination, and we all need to work towards it. And this session, I hope, will help you towards that. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.